And we are live. Welcome to another High Vibe conversation. I'm your host, 𝗨𝗟𝗶. Joined with me today are the lovely High Vibe women with heart, and we're here to talk about evolving into leadership today. So I'm going to let Linda take the reins on this one, since this is something that she is such an expert on. Linda, why don't you just jump right on in there?
Thank you. Yeah, a while back, my husband and I wrote a book about evolving, and it's evolving yourself and your business. Because what we found is if you're going to go into business for yourself, you are going to get to change a lot. It is so amazing. And we had the opportunity to be in high-end coaching where there is no room for ego whatsoever. So that was like always challenged. I remember going to an event and it's like, here's your champagne, here's the pink carpet, walk the pink carpet, go to this room, get your gift, and then go make your commercial. And we're like, what commercial? Oh yeah, the one we're going to show to the 800 people that, are going to be at the event. I was like, what? So we make our commercial and they show it. And then these people walked up to us. This couple came up to us and said, your commercial was like, you didn't say everything, but what you did say was really intriguing. We're going to come to your breakout session. Like, okay. So then we had invested $17,000 to be in this event. And we didn't even know what day of a 4-day event we were speaking. That's all kept top secret. Oh my God. So we're leaving the big event tent. This is, by the way, in Las Vegas. We're leaving the tent and they're like, yeah, you're going to be, they hollered out from back room, you're going to be on Friday at 8 a.m. And I'm like, we're in Vegas, Friday, 8 a.m. Who's going to get up to come and to our session? Oh my God, I was like, and my ego just went nuts, and it was like, okay, if you're gonna believe nobody's coming, is that what you want? No, that's not what I want. I was like, okay, straighten up. Okay. And then after our breakout the next day, we actually had people grabbing us in the hallway going, oh, we missed your breakout session. They locked us out. I'm like, what? They locked you out? Yes, they locked the doors, and we were by fire code allowed like 60 people, and I remember them shutting the doors at like 10 minutes before we even started, but I didn't realize they had locked people out 10 minutes early. So anyways, we're like, well, we can talk to you when we get back home. Here's our card, and then we went balls to the wall with follow-up. We even hired somebody to pick up our groceries, and we turned that $17,000 investment into $48,000 in 3 weeks and $68,000 in 2 months. And it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving too, when you have the know, like, and trust from the person like running the event. So that is so much a part of evolving into leadership too. Like, oh, Jenny Langren, that's what she teaches. Like, you get in touch with yourself if you expect people to follow you, and if you're going to be a leader worth following. Right, Jenny?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I get the question sometimes, like, what leadership book are you recommending? And I always answer, books are great, but I recommend people, right? Because it's all about the connection that you are making with the people around you. And I have gone through plenty of education. I've been through the system, so to speak. I've sat at the class and I've gotten loads and loads of information just flooded over my head. Truly, the understanding that I am basing my practice on which is actually, helping me, support people as they transform their lives, has been through human connection. It's been through people. It's been through my own experiences and sharing those with the people around me. And like Linda, you were sharing that people were intrigued. They were intrigued by your message and by your persona, what you were bringing, because you showed up vulnerably and true and genuinely, and that humanity is the bridge between us. And when we show up that way, that's when our learning becomes not only informing but transforming. So that's what's coming up for me on the topic of evolving into leadership. So ladies, what has your journey been like? What's coming up for you?
Dorit, Stina, do either one of you want to jump in first? Otherwise, I'll jump in. Okay. So what's coming up for me when I think about evolving into leadership is navigating that fine line between being a leader and being a manager. And you can be both, but I think oftentimes a lot of people in corporate will call themselves a leader when really they're just managing. And if we really think about management and like the way that we oversee people, oversee a team, sometimes we think about micromanaging and like not giving somebody the freedom to do things their way, and like it has to be done a certain way, and why aren't you working on this thing now, and blah, 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 blah. When we think about managing, it's about getting from one moment to the next. It's not the bigger picture that leadership is. And so I think sometimes as managers, people often forget that leadership is a whole different ballgame. Leadership is about listening to the people around you and knowing, anticipating not just their needs, but like anticipating how we need to grow and change on a personal level, but also on a grander company-wide level, on a team level, it's not just micro, it's macro, it's the bigger picture. And so I like talking about evolving into leadership because so many people in corporate make that transition from management to leadership. And that line gets really blurred really fast, especially if you still keep taking on those managerial roles and tasks, and you don't shed that part of yourself to do more and evolve more for yourself and your team and the company. So that's what's coming up for me. When I also think about leadership on a personal level, it's about storytelling. It's about the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that we share with others, which, depending on where you are in your transformation journey, those stories might not always be exactly the same. The stories that you tell yourself might still be the lies that like you haven't overcome and worked through yet. But the stories that you tell others, at least in my experience, a lot of times it's the message that I need to be hearing myself. And I might be going through it, and I know that other people will resonate with it. So I put it out there sooner, not just for everybody else who needs to hear it, but so that it's like a kick in the pants that I need too, to like, all right, you can't just keep ruminating on this. You have to work through it. You have to be better, not just for yourself, but for others. And so leadership for me is the stories that I put out there that I can also relate to and be that guide, that teacher, that mentor for others who haven't yet navigated those waters. So that's what's coming up for me when I think about evolving into leadership. Dorit, Stina, what about you guys or gals?
I can be both. Well, in my opinion, you can't be a good leader if you have a low self-esteem or low confidence. So I'm focusing on building the confidence for people to become the good leaders that they truly can be. So what we do is we search and locate the negative recordings from their childhood, and we transform them so they don't have to listen to those negative voices in their head going, you're not good enough, or you're going to fail, or what are you doing here, and all that negative stuff. That's just gone, and we can install positive recordings instead and make it a true power trip, and help the person come to his own right and become the confident, secure, true leader that he's supposed to be. Because you don't want to follow a person that's not confident. It's giving up vibes. They can try and they can pretend as much as they want to, but seeing someone who is not confident in their job or has self-esteem enough to carry themselves, you're just gonna be like, I'm not sure about that one. You'll follow because it's a senior or like it's management, but not because the person inspires you to follow. So that's my take on it. I'm just focusing on that little for now, because you girls have all the other bases covered. So,
well, I love the word secure. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody use that word with leadership, and it's so true. And it takes me to the neurology of a person, even like feeling secure within your own body. So thank you for that, Dora. That's a great word in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using that for the dogs. I need to be secure. I need to be confident, and I need to be calm and steady and not be nervous and flingy and give them mixed signals. So secure for me is like you know where you are, and you know your worth in a way. You know that I've got this. I know and I trust. Just that.
I was actually going to jump in and actually bring that up as well, especially when you do that exercise to reset yourself. When you tell yourself, I know and I trust, that's that leadership by heart that you teach and that you practice and help your clients with. And so
absolutely,
when you're leading and people can feel that you're secure, that you're confident, that you trust yourself, it's all coming from your heart, because you trust, and you know that you have all the answers that you need.
And you don't have to search outside and always seek reaffirming from everyone around you, because you got this. You have found the power within yourself. You've eliminated all the negativity that has been haunting you for years, and you just know that I got this. I know everything I need to know, and I trust that. So that's the power of it.
I would just add to that this brings me back to our conversation about courage, where like leadership it's not a job title, like you're hired as a leader. So leadership can show up in so many different ways and in so many different people. And so leading is something that you do that other people recognize. And, to go on what Dora was saying about creating security, and I would say respect is a huge part of leadership. If you don't have people's respect, then they're not going to listen to you. But the way that you get someone's respect is to listen to them first. And so just as you're thinking about the difference between management and leadership, management is a job position. It is, here are the responsibilities of your role, where leadership can be much more dynamic than that and can show up in so many different ways, because it's really a relationship. It's a relationship that you have with somebody else that's built on that trust that we're talking about, that's built on mutual respect, because the only thing that can really truly make a strong leader is strong followers. So there's a mutual responsibility and a mutual relationship in leadership that, a leader can't just be a big head. They can't just be an ego type. It's not about arrogance. It's not about, I can do it the best. It's really a very interpersonal skill to connect with people and help them to feel really heard and seen and valued. And that's what gets somebody to, quote unquote, follow you. So there's that interplay of like polarities, and the one is just as important as the other. And it's what makes the other successful, right? So this, a strong leader makes for strong followers support a strong leader, and they each have kind of their own special sauce to add to the mix, if you will.
To add to that, Stina, you follow a person with a title because you have to within the structure of the company. You follow a leader because you want to. That's a huge difference.
Same with respect. When Stina brought up that word, the word respect is like, yeah, goes both ways. And you can't really get people to respect you if you don't respect yourself first, I would say. Maybe that's how it feels.
Yeah, and when you respect someone and you want to follow them, the type of following you do is much more enthusiastic and engaged and ambitious and, so much more energy behind it than like you said, Jenny, I'm following this person because I have to, it's part of my job to like do what this person says or follow their, management. Like then you only get the bare minimum. You only get what meets the requirement versus what helps everybody to thrive.
Yeah, like what happens when you have people in your company who are following a leader because they want to, is that they are stepping into choice. Those are employee and team members that become they take on the leading role in their own lives and then in the business. And that's a huge difference for sure.
That just reminded me something that I say about parenting is that I think of parenting as raising little parents. I don't think of it as like parenting is raising kids. And so we think of leadership in that same way, what you just said, Jenny, where it's like, if you have a strong leader, then the followers, like you're actually leading in a way that shows other people how to also lead. And so then you have leaders following leaders instead of I'm the leader, you're the follower. But there's that, setting an example and showing them what true leadership looks like so that each person gets to be in choice and take responsibility and feel empowered. And I've been in workplaces where the people were not, empowered to make changes that would better the workplace. And I always found that so frustrating to be on a team where the leader was, say, like I worked for, in a doctor's office. Well, the doctor was kind of seen as the leader, but he wasn't dealing with any of the front desk, patient relation side of things. And so sometimes there's like a disconnect when, the leader is just the person with the most education or the most authority or the most money or whatever that is, when it would have felt really good as an employee to be truly empowered to take a leadership role in what I was doing to make the experience for all of the patients and my coworkers like the best that it could be. And to have that respect from coworkers to like cooperate in that way.
Yeah, and Stina, I know you didn't mean like, oh, all kids are going to go have kids, so you're parenting little parents. And I've seen your kids with little kids, and they're very loving and gentle and protective, and they are leaders. So I love that terminology, parenting a parent. And I always like, my kids had challenging behaviors, so I was like, pick your poison. You're like, which one you want to deal with, and which one's really that serious to deal with. And I know like slamming a bedroom door was a big no, because that's like the first step into family violence. So if a door had to be taken off the hinge to, as a reminder, so be it. I only did that once, but it worked. But like, what is this behavior going to look like in a marriage? What is this behavior going to look like Stina, like if they have a child of their own, blah, blah, blah. What's it going to look like with friends? What's it going to look like with enemies? You know, they say something, they might just get their head chopped off, you know? So that was a good way for me to figure out what to just let go of, and that's going to be a phase and it's going to leave, or this is going to continue, this probably will get worse, or whatever. So thank you for that, Stina.
Yeah, I think of what's it going to look like in their minds for the rest of their lives, because, you know, all of us have done trauma work, inner child work, therapy on our paths, like family dysfunction, you name it. We all have those stories. Like our parents live with us forever in some way, shape, or form. And so it's not necessarily to make us like afraid of making mistakes as parents. It's showing our kids, how do we deal with mistakes? How do we talk about things when they do fall apart or they're not going well? Because those are the things that we learn as kids and then carry that behavior into our adulthood. And a lot of us have had to do a lot of reparenting work. And it's not to have a perfect parent. It's to have, I've heard this term, you know, the good enough parent. We just need a good enough parent, and we need a parent that's showing us how to parent ourselves when they're not around. So it's showing them that when there is a mistake, how do you have compassion for yourself? When there is a problem, how do you go about, you know, figuring out a creative way to solve it? And that all ties back into leadership, that, you know, someone's leadership and the way they lead will stick with that person for a really long time, you know, through their career or other workplaces, and the way that we treat people can create like a lot of like workplace or career trauma for them, or it can fortify them for future, you know, opportunities and roles where they have a better understanding of themselves, they have a better understanding of their power and what they're capable of, and, you know, how to fix mistakes, how to solve problems, like all of the same kind of skills that I think make for really great parenting.
Right.
I love that you
60
mentioned. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna just quick say that I'm turning 66 next month, and I've seen lots of generations of children, and this is like the first time I've heard the word. The cool thing, the new thing to do is be a cycle breaker, and I love that. And I know, you know, all of us have worked on that ourselves in the way we've raised ourselves or children.
Yeah. And that also ties into what I was going to piggyback on from Stina and Linda. You use the word fortify, and like that we've worked through our own traumas, and tried to like reteach ourselves different ways of approaching things and like letting things go and moving on. And I think what's helped the five of us evolve into our leadership and step into that role more completely is that we've put it out there for everybody to see it. And so as we're working on ourselves, other people can build that like, know, and trust with us to see what we're actually working on in real time for ourselves. And they get to know more about us. They get to see what we've been through, so that they can also see where our intentions lie, where we're trying to go. And I think that will help build the relationships beyond the five of us, because we're leading the conversations. That's what these conversations are all about, like staying in our power and not ruminating on things so much, and being able to show other people how to work through their shit. And so I love that you've talked about fortifying, because it just strengthens the bond with ourselves, but also the relationships that we have with others. So that's another thing that was coming up for me as you were talking about not just parenting little parents, but like parenting and leading others. So we're leading by example.
Wonderful, Shal. It reminds me of an email that I got from one of the leaders that I've been working with, saying simply like, we will get you to where you need to go. Like, I'm here for you. We will get you where you need to go. And I just remember pausing and thinking like, yeah, you know, it goes both ways. Like, I'm here for the vision, for the shared vision. I'm here for the shared work to get to the goal. And she's also paying in-depth attention to me as an individual on her team, making sure that she's also here for me. And leadership is about leading people the way they need to be led. And to understand what that is, we get to pay in-depth attention to the people around us individually, to listen and hold space. And so that's interesting, like in today's world, how to cut out the time, or like that's a priority, like that's the gold of in our business portfolio, even, that we make those deeper connections that forge that trust. Very cool. Thank you, guys.
I lost my thought there, so that's why I had to reconnect with myself. I just want to pop up Jenny's friend 𝗍𝗵 is here. So she's been really enjoying the conversation. So I just want to shout out 𝗍𝗵 for being here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. I'm really bad at name pronunciations. Unlike other people, like they just always escape me. But I try. So as long as I can show up and try, you can correct me all you want. Thank you for joining us today for this high vibe conversation all about evolving into leadership. We've touched on so many different ways that you can do that, whether that's in a corporate role, whether that's in a parent role, whether that's you navigating your trauma as an adult from your childhood trauma, or you're navigating it as a child so that you don't have those things happen. We've approached it from so many different perspectives, and hopefully you can relate to it on some level. I'd love to know in the comments or DM us if you feel more comfortable to do so. What are you doing in your personal and professional lives to evolve into leadership for yourself? And how does that show up on a daily basis? So I'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments. We will make sure to answer them. And tune in next week for another high vibe conversation. Until that time, we're saying bye for now.